The Hall of Stars was silent again. Another night, another feast filled with ministers, warriors, and scholars, all eager to bask in the Queen's radiance, and yet none dared step beyond formalities. Not even the boldest among her own kind had approached her throne after the ceremonies ended. Queen Varathia of the Hrellan Empire sat on the dais, staring at the endless sky through the translucent dome above. Her silvered scales shimmered under the starlight. Her horns, regal and unyielding, crowned a face both fierce and heartbreakingly alone. She was strong, the most brilliant ruler in 1,000 years. But strength and power had costs. Those who once admired her had grown fearful, and those who once loved her had cowered. None dared offer her warmth. None dared offer companionship. Each night, she sat in her throne long after the halls emptied, hoping, waiting. And each night the galaxy disappointed her. Until tonight. He wasn't of her blood. He wasn't even of her species. The human walked into the hall after the grand feast ended, when the last of the courtiers had fled and only the guards remained, frozen in disbelief at his audacity. His uniform, a simple black and gray representing Earth's newly formed Alliance Corps, was marred with scratches and dust from travel. His nameplate read Corporal Ethan Vance. He stepped forward unarmed, his hands open at his sides, the universal sign of peace. Queen Varathia's golden eyes narrowed. "You are far from your place, human." Her voice was melodic yet edged with warning. "I know," Ethan said, bowing deeply, unafraid. "That's why I'm here." The hall stirred with uneasy tension. Guards shifted their staves, and some muttered. The human ignored them all. "I saw you tonight, Your Majesty," he said. Laughing for the ministers, commanding the generals, listening to the scholars. "You gave everything. And in return they gave you distance." Varathia's tail curled slightly in surprise. Her warriors often hid her loneliness behind layers of ceremony and performance. How had a human seen it so clearly? "And you think yourself worthy to close that distance?" she asked, with a dangerous tilt of her head. Ethan chuckled softly, the sound echoing strangely in the vast, empty chamber. "I don't know if I'm worthy," he said, stepping closer. "But I won't let you sit here alone. Not tonight." The queen stood slowly from her throne, towering over him. 7 feet of lethal grace, the air around her crackling with latent energy. Even among her people, she was considered imposing. To most humans, she would have seemed monstrous. But Ethan didn't flinch. His brown eyes simply looked up at her, filled with something rare in her court, sincerity without fear. A beat of silence stretched between them, heavy and fragile. Finally, Varathia descended the steps of the dais, her golden robe whispering behind her. The guards tensed, ready to intervene. She lifted a hand, a single graceful gesture, and they backed away. "Speak, human," she said, her voice softer now. "Why would you cross the void between our kinds for a lonely queen?" Ethan smiled, crooked and boyish. "Because back on Earth we have a saying, no one should face the stars alone." For the first time in what felt like centuries, Queen Varathia laughed, a real laugh, bright and unrestrained. The sound reverberated through the hall like music, shocking even the guards into stillness. She regarded him with new eyes. "Walk with me," she said. And he did. They walked through the royal gardens, where trees from 100 worlds grew side by side. They talked, at first about simple things. The weight of leadership, the loneliness of command. Then deeper things. Lost families, wars survived, dreams abandoned for duty. Ethan spoke of Earth's oceans, its wild storms and quiet forests. Varathia listened, enraptured by a world so unlike her own metallic spires and endless deserts. In turn, she shared her burdens, the endless succession of betrayals, the court's games, the wars she fought not with armies but with lonely decisions that stained her spirit. Sometimes, she admitted, I wonder if they see me as a being at all, or just a symbol they can bow to and fear. Ethan stopped, turning to face her under a massive flowering tree whose petals glowed faintly blue in the night. I see you, he said simply. For words. And yet they struck deeper than any blade. She had conquered worlds. She had commanded fleets larger than human history had ever known. But no conquest had ever brought her what this one small human offered freely. Recognition. Tears shimmered in her eyes, threatening to fall, something she hadn't allowed herself since her coronation. Before she could retreat into the armor of her role, Ethan gently took her clawed hand in his. His warmth, so small compared to hers, was steady and real. The royal guards watched with wide, stunned eyes, but again Varathia signaled them away. Do you not fear me? She whispered. Ethan grinned. You're not half as scary as Sergeant Mendoza back on Earth. She could chew through titanium. A startled laugh broke from Varathia's throat. He squeezed her hand gently. Besides, he added, I've seen fear. I've seen cruelty. You're just lonely. The Queen stood there, trembling, not from anger, not from battle lust, but from the terror of hope. In the quiet garden, under stars older than either of them, she lowered her proud head and rested her forehead against his. It was an ancient Hrellan gesture, a silent promise. I see you. Accept you. Ethan closed his eyes and let her lean against him, neither dominating nor yielding, just being. The next day the galaxy changed. When Queen Varathia entered the Hall of Stars, she was not alone. At her side walked the human, unadorned, unbowed. His presence both a scandal and a revolution. The courtiers gasped. Whispers turned into open uproar. A human. Beside the Queen. Unthinkable. Yet none dared speak the words aloud. None dared challenge her decree when, with one hand on Ethan's shoulder, she declared, This one walked where none of you dared. This one gave me more loyalty in one night than you have in 1,000 ceremonies. By my command, he is under my protection and my companionship from this day forward. Silence fell like a thunderclap. From that day, the Hrellan Empire whispered of the human consort, a title not given lightly. Some called it folly. Others called it treason against tradition. But none could deny what they saw. The Queen smiled more often. She listened more patiently. Her decrees, once fearsome and unchallengeable, now carried a strange undercurrent of hope, a glimmer that true power did not always mean isolation. Ethan Vance became a bridge, not just between species, but between the lonely sovereign and the people she ruled. Through him, trade agreements were signed that had stagnated for decades. Through him, old enemies found neutral ground. Through him, Varathia found what no throne could grant, peace. Months later, during the Festival of Dawns, the Queen stood on her balcony overlooking the capital. The stars blazed above. Fireworks from every corner of the empire streaked across the sky. Ethan leaned against the railing beside her, sipping a goblet of Hrellan nectar. You ever miss Earth? Varathia asked, watching him from the corner of her eye.